Hello there. Have you ever thought about God? Have you ever thought about a creator who created everything? Sometimes people say, I don't really believe in a God, but I know there is something out there, some higher power, some higher consciousness, or some higher energy out there. And some people even say, there is somebody out there. I don't know what it is, but I think we are all accountable to that higher power or higher energy or something like that. Something you can't define, and yet we find comfort in the fact that somebody or something is kind of watching over us and holding us accountable, etc. If you have that kind of a feeling about God, I want to challenge you to think a little more. Now, the creator of the heavens and the earth, or the creator of the universe, has to be very, very powerful. We talk about higher energy, higher consciousness. Sometimes people talk about God as the same as the universe we live in. I don't want to complicate things. I want to just give a plain, simple talk to share some thoughts about what we normally keep at the back of our mind when we think about God. So, this vast universe, which is so big, if there is a creator and a designer, then that power, I'll just call it power, should be very powerful, right? To bring everything out of nothing and to create and to design and to balance everything by his power. The second thing you need to remember is you and I are capable of rational thinking. We can think, we can articulate things, and we seek knowledge. We know the difference between right and wrong, basically. So that rational thinking capacity is there in human beings. And yet when we think about God, who is supposed to be our creator, we make God so small and so impersonal and mindless, and we call God some energy or consciousness. I want to remind you that you and I, as rational beings, if we can think so much, make decisions and make choices, how much more brilliant, if I may use that word, how much more of a thinking capacity should our Creator have? When we think about God, we have to think about God as somebody who is much smarter than us. So, God has to be very, very powerful. He has to be much smarter and more rational than us. And thirdly, we are beings capable of having relationships. Relational beings we are. But when we think about God, we make the very idea of God sometimes very impersonal, unrelatable, some power out there, some energy out there. So think about that. If we are capable of building relationships, our Creator should be much more than that, able to relate to His creation. So these three things I want you to think. The power of God. Only then we can, unless He's almighty, unless He's very powerful, we cannot call Him God, because you see the universe. How can anything that is less than almighty bring all this out of nothing? Secondly, God has to have a better mind than you and me, not a lesser mind. Thirdly, God has to be personally relatable. The personal relationship, or God has to be somebody who is capable of having relationships at whichever level it is. Let me read a verse or a portion from the Bible. The Lord our God, the Lord is one. Love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your strength. And in that one line, in those few words, we see a lot of truths related to what we have been talking about. The Lord is one. He is complete in himself. And love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your strength. So God is capable of loving. That means he can have a relationship with us. Some power out there means nothing to us. But if that some power, when you think about it, he has to be much smarter than us, much more powerful than we can imagine, and somebody with whom we can have a relationship. The God of the Bible reveals himself as all of the above. He called things out of nothing. He is complete in himself, and he called things out of nothing. And he is not an impersonal energy. He is a thinking mind with unlimited capacity. And he became a human being to have a relationship with human beings, to make us children of God. It might sound a little philosophical or not so religious. But I want to address the non-religious people. That's why we are doing this series of talks. If you have that little thought in your mind, is there a God? Does he care for me? Does he know my name? Is there meaning in life? Then think about God not as someone inferior to us, then that will be your creation. Someone who has a better mind than you. Someone who has a bigger heart than you. Someone who loves us and has the capacity to have a relationship with us. And when I say someone who loves us, that means he has to be a person. Without a personality, we cannot have a relationship with God. If he is just an energy, there's no point in talking about him. So think about all this. Think about the possibility of a mighty being who created everything and put everything in its balance. And think about somebody who's got a better mind than us, not just an abstract concept, an idea, or an energy, or a consciousness out there. Think about someone. If he created you and me, then his mind should be sharper than ours. Because creation is always lower than the Creator. Thirdly and finally, think about God as someone with whom we can relate to. Through Jesus Christ, God becoming human being, through Jesus Christ, God was proclaiming, I love you, I have come to save you. Save you from what? Save you from death, save you from eternal death, save you from meaninglessness. I let you think about all those. But my challenge is for you to have that desire to find out the truth. And may your search lead you to Jesus Christ. Why did he die? He died to save us, to redeem us, to pay the price of all that has gone wrong and make things right and give us salvation and make us God's children. And he rose again. Think about God. Think about Almighty. Think about his mind. Think about the relationship we can have with him. Not just something out there, but somebody out there who loves you. Maybe that's why you're listening to it today. So, if he is Almighty and if he loves you, then maybe it's time for you to say, okay, I bow down before you. Would you open your heart to Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior? May your search end at the feet of Jesus. Thanks for watching.